We've got another D-41 here to evaluate. I got a lot of good comments on the previous evaluation video, so I thought I would do this one too. You got to see a lot of the same problems, the same issues, the same things are going to be corrected. I mean, it is a Martin guitar, you know, it's not a unique thing. A lot of people sometimes will say things like, let me turn my phone off here. They'll say things like, well, will you make a decision on the popsicle brace when you hear my guitar? Well, you know, a modification does a specific thing. So it's not like it makes one guitar trebly and another guitar bassy. It does a specific sort of thing. So if you want that kind of sound or feel out of your guitar, then I know what kind of things to do to get that. The hardest thing to get is treble. If someone wants a more trebly guitar, it's harder to do. Bass is easier to get than treble. But in this case, we're not going to do so many modifications. The owner just said, here's a sheet. This is what I do. I have these folders here, and I keep the printouts of what the owner wants. Here's his handwritten instructions. Here's his disclaimer, which mostly just kind of gives me an address and stuff, you know, for when it comes time to contact him. And then I have his address again, a little bit of duplicity there. He's got some stuff here, and then I have like about 100 emails from most people. I print out those emails and refresh my memory so I don't have to go to the computer. So what he says here is repair the crack in the lower bout below the bridge, repair the lower bridge, whatever that is, new tuners, check the intonation, shave the braces if they're needed, check if it needs a neck reset. I think it's okay. Make it sound as good as you can. See, that's what I like. Make it sound as good. Make it sound as good as you can. And so to me, that's, you know, free run. Now I'm going to check, obviously, before I actually do anything. You know, I will check with the owner to see if that's what he's kind of expecting, and you know, is he willing to pay the money, and you know, that kind of thing. I'm not just going to go free rein and send the guitar back. So let's look at this guitar. Now looking at the headstock, you know, just to start there. Again, big tuners, and again, they're set. The screws are set off on the side, but at least these are straight back rather than the ones at an angle. So I'm going to check with him about the tuners. He said the tuners. He said new tuners. So I'm going to see what kind of tuners he wants, and we're going to replace these heavy tuners with an open back. The nut is plastic. Well, it's corian, and on a D-41, you know, I might replace it. I probably will. I'll probably recommend replacing the nut with bone, but the nut is not one of the bigger things on the guitar. Corian is not that bad of a stuff. If the string spacing is really good, and the height is good, we might leave it alone. We might replace it. Just depends. Now, I will say this. One factor that makes a difference is the saddle. The saddle here is micarta. I can tell by looking at it. You can too. You see the yellowish kind of color? It's micarta. So I'm going to replace the saddle with bone. And when you do that, it'd be nice to have a bone nut too, just so they match. It is, again, like I said, a D-41. You know, you want it to be right. The pins are bone. They're slotted. They're sticking up a quarter of an inch out of the bridge. I can't stand that. One reason I can't stand it is because you're going to push down on the pins trying to, and it's just a wedge right now, and this is how you split your bridges. So those pins are going to get seated, the bridge is going to get slotted, the pins are going to get turned around. I'm assuming that because these are aftermarket bone pins, he probably might not want to replace them with ebony. But it's the same deal as I talked about in the other one, is I don't like the looks of the white pins. You can't even see the abalone, you see. It just kind of blends in. You can't even see the dots, for that matter, from a distance. It just looks like a washed out thing. So I really don't like the color combination of white and abalone. I've talked about that already. Okay, so the nut, the frets, got a little bit of wear. You got quite a bit of wear on that. Yeah, on that B string down to the 3rd fret, 4th fret, all the way down to the 5th fret. I would probably go ahead and replace those frets. just to keep all the frets a nice height. The guitar is here in the shop, you know. You ought to have me do 5 frets. Let's see how tall they are. Zero that out. 36 thousandths. 36. That's okay. You know, those are new height. Martin frets. A new height is 37 inches. By the time you level them a little bit to get everything level, you're going to lose a thousandth or so. So those frets are in pretty new condition. But I would replace the first 5 to get everything up to the right height while it's here. He said make it sound as good as you can, so I assume that means make it play as good as you can too. So, what else? I know it has a popsicle brace in it. There's no use looking at that. Let's check the intonation. Here's my magic stick again. And I'm going to put it here on the middle of the 12th fret. We're going to come down here. And it's pretty good. You know, again, it's like 1/64 of an inch off. It could be back just a smidgen more. But you're not going to notice any difference in the intonation. You won't notice a difference, so it's probably about 1/8 of an inch off. Some of the 70s are off by like 1/4 of an inch, and that's definitely going to make a difference. But this one, it'll be fine. It'll be fine on the intonation. I don't see a problem with that. I don't need any reason to take that off. The treble, E is right dead on. So again, if Martin just kind of needs to kick that low E back just a hair. This saddle is non-compensated, and by the time I compensate it, I'll gain a little bit, and it'll be good. It'll be good. Now, he says something about the lower bridge, So, you know, the bridge is coming off. See it right there? There's a big old gap right there. And I don't even have to put anything in there to see that. I mean, you know, bridge is coming off. All the way across. Now, the question to me is, why did the bridge come off? So, see this crack? That's a dryness crack. No question. It's not on the center seam. This is off of the center seam, and this guitar has been dry at some point in its life, or hot. A combination of heat. Heat will make it dry. It got hot at one point. That dried it out. It got a crack in the top, and that undoubtedly probably caused the bridge to come loose. The bridge is no problem. The crack I'm looking at, because I'm in my shop, and this guitar has been in the shop for 2 weeks, at least a week. That crack is not closed up. I'm suspicious. Why not? Why isn't that crack closed up? Now, one thing he says here, shave the braces if needed. Well, it's got tall back braces, so I'm going to shave those down. I went over this on the other guitar, didn't I? The other D-41. The fact that when you have uniformly tall back braces, I'm talking about the braces, it's here, 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 and here. When they're uniformly tall, you're going to get a uniform sound across the back of the guitar. It's a uniform sound. So by shaving the 2 back braces that are here and here back to a pre-94 height, you'll get more woof, more complexity of sound out of the guitar, and it doesn't hurt anything. The reason Martin did it, because they had some wood that wasn't dry enough, and the backs cracked, and so I love Martin, but their solution is always to throw more wood at the problem, it seems. So I'll shave the rear back braces. Now, what about the X braces? I'm sure the D-41 is going to have the HD style braces, whereas I described before, you got the X right here, and they're non-scalloped for about the first inch and a half of it, and then they have a scallop that comes down in here. That makes the X crossing stiff, and it does give it a kind of a mid-range, trebly punch, which is good in some cases. You know, I don't necessarily mind that. That is one situation where it kind of does depend on the guitar, kind of does depend on what the owner wants out of the guitar. But, and I'll clear this with him, you know, before I scallop that. Let's see what we got there, just to be sure. And yeah, it's a HD style abrasion, but you know what else I see? Oh, golly. Okay. This crack is cleated. So that's why it's not shedding, because somebody cleated the crack up without getting it closed. There's no way I'm going to get it closed until I remove those cleats. So I've got 3 cleats, one, and this one. That's not going to be any fun at all. It looks like, what kind of glue? You can tell what kind of glue they have by the color of it and everything. Wow, they're big cleats too. They're really ugly. I swear they're like 1/4 of an inch tall. That's going to be nasty. What a pain in the butt. Especially that last one back there. The one that's right there. I'm probably going to have to use a really long chisel. Put a mirror in there and go in there and shave it. Let me get it. Something like this. It's a curved chisel. It's really for shaving braces, you know, when you have the guitar off. You know, when you're doing this, building the guitar, you have the top on your bench and you can use this nice lovely chisel to do it. I've never really found a purpose for these. I bought them. I bought some tools I never used. I never found a real purpose for them. But, that curve, I'll be able to go in there, reach in from here, and it's going to reach. If I can clear the brace, go in there and scrape that cleat down. Hopefully I'll be able to get it off. Because that's got to get out of there before I can close that crack up. I have a little trick with cracks like this, okay? The problem is going to be getting glue into it. And I want to put cleats back in it after I close it up, and I'm not going to use cleats that are that thick either. I'm going to use very, very, very thin cleats, because the size of the cleat doesn't really have anything to do with how well it's going to hold it. What matters is that the grain runs perpendicular here, or at least at an angle. And what matters is to get some glue surface across the grain like this. You could probably use a piece of Gorilla Tape. You know what I mean? As long as it doesn't stretch this way, the size of that cleat, the thickness of it, has nothing to do with the strength of it in this case. If it was a brace, yes, but that's not what you're doing here. You're just trying to keep it from opening up. You don't need these massive cleats in there. Alright, so the point is, once I get that crack closed up with humidity, how am I going to get glue in there? So there's a trick that I use. Take hot hide glue. It has to be hot hide glue, the old-fashioned way. You mix up some pretty thin solution of hot hide glue. You heat this up, and you better be careful about this. You better be, if you're not experienced with using a hair dryer, then don't do this. But I've done this a lot of times. So what I do is I get this warmed up right in here, down the crack. I get hot hide glue, and I brush it in there. And then I clean it, I let it dry. What will happen is the hot hide glue will absorb into the wood. That's one of the reasons why you like hot hide glue, because it absorbs into the wood. You don't want any crystals, you don't want any glue dried up in the crack. After it dries, humidify it. The crack will close together like this. When it's closed, you get some more heat. You get some more water, hot water. I can sometimes use steam. Like if I'm doing a neck reset, I take my steam needle, because I'm very experienced in the amount of steam. If you're not and not comfortable, don't ever do this. But you can use hot water too. Anyway, the point is you get something hot and wet on there. Let it absorb in, and it will re-amalgamate the hot hide glue. When it does that, the hot hide glue will stick. Hot hide glue, when it dries again, will also pull the wood together. And you will end up with a nice tightly glued crack, because you snuck the glue in there. I call it like the Trojan horse glue technique, because you're introducing the glue before you close it up with hydration. So get it warm, get it hot again. It will re-amalgamate, the glue will pull itself together, and when I'm happy with that, and when the crack is then closed to my satisfaction, and only to my satisfaction, then will I put the cleats on. Okay? Then to finish up the finish on top, sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes the hot hide glue will pull together so tight that it'll be really nice. If you do, you need to do it, this stuff here, Glue Boost. Use the thin, use a pipette. I use a pipette. I'm not suggesting you do this, I'm just suggesting that I do it. Micro pipette. And you go very, very careful, just a tiny, as little glue as you can get away with, down that crack. Let it dry, or you can use the Glue Boost accelerator, which only use that with this stuff. It'll dry, nice and solid, and then you can go in there and you can sand it down, level sand it, buff it, polish it, and all that sort of thing. You can hide it pretty good. You can never hide a finished prepare like this, totally 100% invisible, because of the thing called chatoyance, and that is the light reflection off of here. When you put a finish like this down, you do it in one sheet, well, layers, but you do it in one spray. If you ever do a finish like over here and then do it over here, you won't get it. You'll see a different light reflection because of the way the molecules dry and that sort of thing, and they reflect the light differently. And so that's the problem with doing a finish repair here. Even if you use lacquer, which I don't like to use lacquer because I'm really allergic to wet lacquer. But you can, and I might. If I have a nice day, instead of using the super glue, I might go out there with a little bit of lacquer and do it. But lacquer takes forever to dry. And after it dries and you level sand it, then in 2 or 3 months it will continue to sink. So it'll look beautiful right now, and in 2 or 3 months it'll be sunk down below the crack again. So really the only way to do a good lacquer fill is if you have the guitar for a year. I mean, seriously, 6 to 8 months. I mean, it takes a long time to get everybody dry. This super glue here is a flexible finish. It says it right there, flexible filler. And that means that you can sand it level. Regular super glue, like say this stuff, StewMac stuff. StewMac is a good glue, but it's not flexible. It dries hard, and it dries harder than the lacquer finish. So when you try to level sand it, what happens is you sand the softer lacquer more than the hard super glue, and you always end up with a little hump where the super glue is. It's very, very hard. I never had really good success until I went to this Glue Boost stuff. And it is the bomb. It's good stuff. This is a super thin crack right here. It's not anything big. I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to hide that really well. Really well. It'll never be invisible. You can always find it. I guarantee you that if George Gruen saw it, he'd be able to find it. Somebody like that, But it'll make it look good. The main thing to me on a crack is always the structural thing. And this crack really isn't causing any structural issues. The guitar not going to fall apart because of this crack. It might cause some buzzes and some things like that where the two halves rub on each other. It might. So we want to get it, closed up. So that's really the main thing here. So let's go back over this guitar here from the top. I'm going to change the tuners. I'd like to change the nut to bone. I'm going to do probably 5 frets on it, and it has an adjustable truss rod, so I don't have to worry about neck relief in this case. Let's see. Make it sound as good as you can. I'm going to ask him if I can take the popsicle brace out, because that will add clarity and treble to the instrument. I'm going to shave the rear back braces. I'll glue the bridge back on. I'll get the cleats out of there. I'll fix the crack up. And then I'll glue the bridge back on, right? Did I say that? The bridge has got to get glued back on. I'll make sure there's no finish underneath there or anything like that. Glue it back on. And then I will play the guitar and I'll see what kind of sound it has, whether or not we want to shave those X braces or not. The danger of shaving the X braces is that the top might rise a little bit, and if it's borderline neck reset right now, it may push it over the hill. So let's see what we have. I haven't strung it up because the bridge is loose. The action looks pretty good. I don't think, the relief is pretty flat. I think it's going to be plenty good on the neck angle. Yeah, I don't think it's going to need a neck reset. I mean, right now it does not need a neck reset. But if I do shave those X braces, I don't think it's going to need one. This is not soft saddle. The saddle's got plenty of height on it. In fact, the saddle's perfect. Especially by the time I slot the bridge and it increases that angle a little bit. It'll be good. So tuners, nut, 5 frets, maybe the popsicle brace, shave the rear back braces, maybe do the X brace, reglue the bridge, bone saddle, seat the pins, slot the bridge, fix the crack. Pick guard's nice. He didn't say anything about the pick guard. Good. This is a red pick guard, but this is it's not the dot matrix, and I don't mind these pick guards. You know, these are okay. If your other wants to replace it with a dark one or a bolder one, that's fine. But I don't see replacing the pick guard as a real big major thing. It does look a little bit out of place because there's nothing else red on the guitar, you know. So a bold, dark pick guard might look pretty good on this. Let me grab one. I've only got about 1,000 of them down here. Something like this, you know, that matches more of the dark color of the guitar. Something like that might look better than that, but that's a cosmetic thing, you know. Cosmetic. So I got a lot of these, you know. I don't know, what do you think? That look better or that look worse? Who knows? Cosmetic. Pick guard's not a major deal. It's a nice guitar. It's in good shape. A few little dings in here, player dings. That's fine. I don't mind player dings. That, you know, it's got nice rosewood on the back. I tend to really like 40s myself because, you know, I like the abalone or ablam or, you know, whatever this one happens to be, but I like a little bit of bling around it. It doesn't bother me. And when you get these 40s in sunburst, oh, those are sweet. When you get the dark sunburst that comes out of here and then it makes this border really pop, those are really pretty guitars. Real pretty. I had like a triple op 45 or something in one time that had a sunburst here. It was a nice looking guitar. So if you're going to have a guitar, you might as well have a pretty one. And to me, scratches and dings and, you know, wear marks, those are fine. Those are pretty. I like to see guitars that have been played and have a little bit of wear mark on them. You never have to worry about them then. But this is this nice looking guitar. It's got some silking up here, bear claw. And I bet it sounds good. It's got some run out on the top too. Looking at it here, you can see the light reflecting a little bit different right here. I think I'll get this on the camera. Yeah, there it is. I can see it on the camera now. You know, some people go ballistic over that. I don't mind. I definitely don't mind bear claw, silking, good stuff. I have found personally that some of the best sounding guitars I've ever played had significant bicoloration on it, where one half of the guitar was like completely different color than the other. I don't know if that gives it more, if the different wood densities, the different kinds like that, I don't know if that gives it more complex sound or what, I don't know, you know. But I know that some of the best sounding guitars I've ever played, the ones I like the best, had distinctly bicolored tops. There's this particular 1939 D-18, for instance, that is just, I mean, two colors completely. It's great. I love that guitar. So that doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, I can see it now that I've seen it. Okay, I'm going to get to work on this one. And we'll do, I can't play it obviously because the bridge is about to come off. So we'll just have to. This is a guitar where I'm not going to bother testing everything in little steps because I know I want the tuners off of there. I know I want the frets. I know I want the nut. I know I got to glue this down. I know I got to fix the cracks. Maybe at that point, no, because the tuners have changed the sound. You know, there's just so much that I know I'm going to do to it that I'm not going to bother with an A-B, besides the fact the bridge is going to come up if I string it up. So you're just going to look at my procedure for evaluating this guitar. And of course, when it gets done, then I'll make a video of it and we'll see how it sounds. I'm pretty sure it's going to sound good. The other thing I like about 40s, I like bound fingerboards. And this one's nice. The binding's not coming off or anything. And as I talked about in the other one, I think, I like to see the dots. I like the way the dots pop. They just seem to fit my hand. So, bound fingerboards. They automatically have a smoother feel to them, a rounded feel is what I mean. I like them, and I like the way the binding comes up with this binding. And to me, again, it's a handsome guitar. Binding up here. I guess it kind of reminds me of mandolin. I admire F-style mandolins because they're pretty, and they've got a lot of expert craftsmanship in them. There's nothing wrong with the A-style mandolin, but when you get a really nice F that's got triple binding on it, that's done really nice, aesthetically they're very pleasing, and therefore I come to the instrument with a good attitude. I used to have a mandolin. It was a really good mandolin, a Summit F100. It was my first good mandolin. It had the fingerboard was unbound and the back was unbound. It was one of the first ones, where they don't bind the back, or they just stick the back on. And it was a great sounding mandolin, really bright, really crisp and everything. But as I played it more and more, I thought, if I'm going to have an F-style mandolin, I want to see the binding. I want the binding. I want the binding down the neck, that sort of thing. So it's just an aesthetic thing that me, when I look down at the instrument, I think, this looks nice, and then I play better.